The way I was able to differentiate my businesses where it far exceeded my expectations. It's made all the difference to my business. Marketing, there's a great deal of people that compete in that space. And I think you've always got to be able to, as we're talking about customer demands, be able to shift and move with it, but also to realize what type of trends are approaching the environment. And seeing psychological safety, and I guess different, I think one of my greatest quotes, I guess, is, we can't continue to solve problems the same way that we've created them, and it's one of my favorites. And because I think that's our issue, we continually try to redo things the same way that we've done them over and over and over. And we've got too many things that are changing and too many elements that are changing the way that we're doing business and the way that we communicate and work with each other. So we need something different. So in terms of the diploma, of neuroscience and leadership, it gave me a great ability to tap into different theories and practices within the science community that could be applied to business, that created the differentiation in the way that I deliver my services, the way I write my workshops, the frameworks that I've built, to also a lot of the decision-making tools that we use to actually optimize decisions. So for me, it's been absolutely brilliant in terms of innovation for my own business and for myself, more than anything else. Yeah. I think the benefit is you get this sense of, and mine was just insatiable curiosity, and you almost go down a rabbit hole. And psychological safety was one of the first rabbit holes that I went down, and 3 years later popped my head back up and started to do the psychological safety on boards and committees. And that came from just this insatiable curiosity that I had with, well, how do we get a customer-centric culture, and what's actually stopping us? Well, what's stopping us is that the level of engagement within the business, but engagement's just not enough. What's that missing piece? And certainly for me, the course created that missing piece. It was, this psychological safety was, that was my aha moment. And I love using that actually too. That was another one, the difference between cooperation and actual innovation and collaboration within a workplace. So yeah, I think, I'm not saying that it will create a competitive advantage for everyone, but I think it definitely provides an opportunity for that, because if you can tap into the learnings that you have there and you find your own little rabbit hole, I think you'll find a different way of being able to present yourself or identify new trends that are coming into the market. Look, psychological safety has been my holy grail for the past, as soon as I actually read about it, it was, in fact, it was probably the reason I did a lot of the course, because I was learning about that before anything else. So that has been probably the biggest difference to me, and that's been one of the biggest outcomes for me. Being able to actually understand, though, the way that we work together as a social unit as opposed to as individuals, and how we use the way our brain works to adapt, gain curiosity, or to actually tap into our strengths, identify our weaknesses in terms of being able to apply that to a social group or a working group. That's probably been one of the greatest learnings for me, because I was then able to apply that to a specific framework and the research that I've done since then. So we have a change and a communications framework, for example, that almost takes our traditional marketing and business plan types of arrangement, but it overlaps it with some of the learnings from neuroscience, so we can actually say, well, actually, are we talking about the right things, and are we saying the right things, and are we doing that in a way that actually engages rather than threatens everyone that we're talking to. So those have probably been, my greatest highlights. I think the psychological safety and a lot of the social intelligence types of things has probably been one of my greatest pieces of information and rabbit holes that I, didn't come out of for ages. So I'm waiting for the next one now. Look, I was really fortunate to meet the founder and have a lot of work with Linda Ray, and her passion, her excitement around what she was doing, and and how she was changing, you know, the world one brain at a time. It inspired me, and everything that she was talking about made sense to me. And then that insatiable curiosity just sort of took control, and I started, you know, reading more and more, and started reading a lot around the certificate. And then I decided that the advanced diploma was the way to go for me. I think understanding how the brain works in terms of how you can optimize your own productivity. So, you know, you're around your intentional intelligence, the way that you can actually apply it in social networks with your social intelligence, but also being able to tap into your strengths and probably highlight some of your weaknesses as far as your own emotional intelligence. That was really critical for me. And the step that I took forward from there was also around conversational intelligence then. So, yeah, it was really Linda. I was really lucky enough just to be exposed to a lot of what she had learned and what she was learning, and her and the great work she'd already done with a couple of organisations that we'd had a chance to work together with. So I was very, very lucky. I expected knowledge, and look, it came at a great time. I don't think you need to, you know, one of the things is this whole growth mindset, which is a really lovely phrase and theory too. Carol Dweck has actually coined the term, I guess. But I think when you apply that to the neuroscience and capability, it's something that the learnings from that can be applied to a personal, you know, your personal and your relationships, to a business setting as well. And the way we've talked today has been more around a person, you know, a business setting, but from a personal objective, you know, it creates quite a bit of information just to actually enhance your own personal relationships and home relationships or family relationships. But from terms of, I guess, what it did for my business, yeah, like we talked before about some of the other things that I went down, the biases. You know, I think at the time we were looking at 220 different biases that had been identified. It might be 202. But that was another one that I just went, wow, oh my God, this is almost scary to think that my decision making has been so flawed. And so one of the things we created out of that has been a decision making tool for startups and scale ups. So we've taken those biases to try and eliminate a lot of them along the way that we would normally use and spend a ridiculous amount of money. And the way we say it is, you know, we're trying to eliminate some of those biases that would actually hinder acceleration of innovation. In another way, we've done more work around the psychological safety and the decision making of our leadership teams and our directors and management team, and in the same way that uses the learnings from neuroscience to actually help us have better chemistry as a team, but also what can we do to get that cognitive diversity so that we can actually be making better decisions, to actually moving it to a legacy leadership model. So those three foundational pieces have all basically come from the learnings of neuroscience from my perspective, which enhances everything that we've been doing in terms of marketing and any sort of people engagement that we do. But from a personal perspective, you know, I've got 3 boys and teenage boys at that, and a husband. I think I had to get a dog to get another female in the house. You know, so that's created a really great way of understanding what's going on in the teenage brain and what's going on with hormones and the chemistry of what's going on with our brains. So that has been really important, I think, too, as a parent and as a partner in my household. So it has some great ramifications, I think, a lot more encompassing than just what you think it's going to be. You know, I thought it would be more around business, and yet it's had just as much of an impact on my personal life. Really exceeded my expectations. We had an amazing facilitator who kept us accountable every step of the way. And if you want to look at a course that takes what learnings, you know, that takes what we've learned in neuroscience and actually applies it to business and to learning, this course does that. You know, it does it in a way that is brain friendly, that is motivational, that has the friendship and social groups that allow us to continue and want to make you continue and share. So it does that really, really well. So it absolutely exceeded my expectations in terms of the content and the way I was able to apply it to my business practices and personal life. And with the people that I met as well, and the types of ways that we were able to just generate ideas or exchange different types of experiences and perspectives, because I think that's really important too, to be able to harness that, the learnings and perspectives of other people around us. So that was really good. And then would I recommend it? Absolutely, yeah. Look, I think it's one of those things for me. Learning to me is one great way that you can actually expand your knowledge, and this is in particular, I think, really good because you're able to apply everything that you learn immediately in terms of your relationships at home, but also your business relationships. I actually wish that all high school students were doing this as part of their psychology, or a part of a course just around social intelligence or understanding your brain. I think it would, you know, as a young woman, I think going into very male dominated workplaces, I wish I had done it as well, because I would have absolutely been able to probably control a lot of my emotions and the way I worked in the workplace, and just understood different perspectives. So that sense of immaturity and naivety that you take from a university and then into the workplace, I think this would actually help a lot more with people going into the workplace for the first time. But for me, it was about growth and about taking that next step and actually going, where do some of my strengths lie and how can I apply this to a business? The way I was able to differentiate my business is where it far exceeded my expectations, that we could actually find ways to actually enhance what I was doing and how I was delivering it for greater impact. I think that's the thing. Because in terms of my clients and their relationships, you know, we can actually track and trace now the immediate impact that we're having across, whether it be their customers, whether it be their decision makers, their board, their management committees, and we're saving them a lot of money. Because we're not guessing, you know, we're able to actually use the science to actually identify and diagnose. Almost, someone said, oh, it's like you're a doctor and you're coming in and telling us. I said, yeah, it feels like that a little bit, doesn't it? You know, but you're not guessing anymore, and you're not applying a template to everybody. You're actually saying, no, as a group, let's go down as, you know, as small a group as we can to actually identify what some of the key issues are here. And some of those discoveries have been absolutely amazing. And the fact that at any time you can go back to a great network of people and go, I need help with this. What do you think? What can we do? So that network has been really good as well. I also think, you know, from a mental health perspective, we really underestimate the benefit of learning and continual learning. And I did look hard and wide for something that had neuroscience and leadership and neuroscience, or organizational neuroscience, with a lot of our universities at the time, and I really felt it was underwhelming. And Linda filled that gap because this was almost, you know, well, it was 18 months worth of purely neuroscience from an organizational perspective and a leadership perspective. So I think some of our modern day education systems have a bit of catch up to do in terms of where Linda's at the moment. So I think that's good.